Weather's great.
All right.
Oh, you want to be on? Let's go outside.
The time being 10:45, I'd like to call the meeting of the March Jobs Committee to order. And today, by the way, is Pi Day, 3/14. If you're a math person, this is a big, big, important day.
Like pie.
So
No one brought pie though.
we're having it tonight at my house. We celebrate. Would you call the roll?
Yes.
With it. However you get there with it.
Bates. Doherty.
Doherty here.
Genesis.
Dennis is here.
Strathman.
Strathman here.
Young. Allen.
Alan present.
Lewis.
Was there? Okay, we have a quorum. I just wanted to point out for those of you that are new on this committee that that at the beginning of all these agendas, we do have our goals, and the jobs goals are pretty long. I'm not going to read through them all, but I like the fact that we keep, having them in front of us every meeting, and all the committees have this, so I really like that. Let's see, did we have remote control requests for Mr. Doherty? Okay, everybody?
Objection.
Awesome. Good morning, Gary. Good morning, Gary.
Morning.
Morning. All right. Could I have approval of the minutes from February 21st?
It would ask for unanimous consent to approve the minutes.
Any comments, objections? Okay. Public comments? No. Presentations and priorities. My favorite part.
Good morning, everyone. Chris Toth here. I'm really excited to introduce our guest presenter today, Doug Pennington, Regional Manager from IMEC. You can come on up and join us, Doug. It's been about a year since we've had someone from IMEC join us today. So he's here to talk about our ARPA programs and some of the other things that IMEC has going on. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Doug.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Can you all hear me okay? All right. How about that? Okay, that's too much. All right. Well, thank you all very much for inviting me. I don't know for sure how much you all know of IMEC. Someone has been, I guess, was it Jim Hancock who was here earlier? Possibly. But in any case, what I'll do is I'll just spend just a little bit of time kind of explaining who we are. And then after that, I want to talk about the ARPA program, the Lighthouse program that you all have sponsored, give you a little more information about that. And also I have some pretty exciting news regarding apprenticeship programs, which is something kind of not new to us, but is gotten to the point now where we're able to do apprenticeships at scale. So we're ready to start promoting that, and I wanted to make you all aware of that as well. So I'll get started. First of all, let me see. Is this thing not working? Okay, got it. First of all, who is IMEC? Is everyone pretty familiar with who we are? Do you know where we're kind of? So okay. We are an extension of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and IMEC stands for Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center. And we're affiliated with the Department of Commerce because NIST runs or oversees a network called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, or MEP. And what that is every state has a sponsored organization that promotes manufacturing in that state. And so IMEC is the Illinois MEP that is an extension of the Department of Commerce. So our job is to try to advance manufacturing in any way we can to help make them more competitive, make them grow, add jobs, anything necessary to make them more competitive globally. We're spread out all over the state. Most of us are, I would say, experienced in manufacturing or in industry in some way. And we're about 55 of us, and we have expertise in all areas of manufacturing, whether it be operations, strategy, planning, marketing, whatever. And we bring our resources to bear to help manufacturers address the challenges that they have. Typically, we work with smaller companies because large companies pretty much have their own resources. And whereas where we come into play are companies that are smaller that, they may just have 4 or 5, 6, 10 people, and the president of the company spends part of the time being president and part of the time working on the line. And he may be also the HR person, and he may even be the receptionist. And so lots of times the companies like that just don't have the resources to have people who can work in the areas that they need in order to improve their businesses. And so our sweet spot is usually anywhere 200 employees or less could be a good candidate for support from a company like, or an organization like IMEC. Now, we like to call ourselves a one-stop shop. Sometimes we're called consultants because we can come in and we can take any particular challenge that a manufacturer has, whether it be hiring, whether it be operations, whether it be growth, marketing, maybe they need new sales, and we can apply resources to it from our staff to manage that. So we call ourselves a one-stop shop because even if they wanted to have a new ERP system, we can work with them to do that as well.
Too many acronyms.
ERP?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I have to, working for a government agency, you're kind of stuck with acronyms.
Say what IMEC stands for, by the way.
Well, I at least explained that, yeah.
No, but you never said what the letters stand for.
Yeah, I did. Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning. Basically, it's the software that runs the company.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah. But anyway, we can work with a company to facilitate that as well. But so the areas the areas that we work, we have it divided up into 6. I have a handout here. I won't go into this in a lot of detail, but I have a handout which kind of summarizes some of what I'm telling you about, but also talks about what all kinds of services that we can provide on behalf of a manufacturer. And so I don't know, what would be the best way to do that? Okay. I think there are plenty. 12, is that enough? I have more if you need it.
Thank you.
So the way we would typically work with a manufacturer is someone like myself, a regional manager, would go and speak with the ownership of the company. Thank you. And basically say, hey, what's keeping you up at night? What is concerning you about your business? What challenges do you have? And we establish a dialogue. We start learning more about what the challenges of that company are. And then we look at our bag of tricks and say, okay, this is something that we can do that might be able to help you address that need. And that's essentially, how we operate. Now, I want to show you this next slide, which I think might be interesting for you. People always want to know how the money is being spent and what is the ROI on that money. And a lot of organizations will we'll say, okay, this is the ROI. Well, how do you back that up? How do you really prove it? And the way we do it is actually through survey. Anytime that we do a project with any manufacturer, a year after that project is completed, the U.S. Department of Commerce sends them a survey and asks them to document what benefits they got from their work with us. And it asks very specifically, how many new sales did you have as a result? How many new jobs did you hire as a result? Did you save any jobs as a result? Were there cost savings? Did you have any investments that you made into your business as a result? Those numbers are aggregated by the U.S. Department of Commerce and sent back to us. These are the numbers from last year. So you can see that it's a fairly significant impact.
Yes, it is.
Average 2 million new and retained sales, 7,700 jobs created, average cost savings, 245,000, a 19-to-1 return on investment, basically. Yes,
What do you mean by retained? That business would have gone somewhere else if they,
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Say a good example would be, and I don't want to go too much into the weeds, but say someone had a cybersecurity concern. Cybersecurity is very important to the Department of Defense. So if you are doing business for the Department of Defense, they're going to require you to have certain certifications that says you can maintain the security of the work that you're doing for us. And that information won't go into anyone else's hands. And there's very specific requirements to do that. And we can help companies get that cybersecurity certification. So if you had a company of 100 employees and 50% of your business, it was in the defense supply chain, and you don't meet those security requirements and they pull that money or pull that business from you, now you're talking about a company ending event. 50% of the revenue could just go. Most companies can't survive that. And you would certainly have to lay off people. So if you, in this example, if you come in, got help, when we helped you get that cybersecurity certification, you saved every single job you have, because the alternative might have been that you would be out of business. So that's where the retain part comes in. And the same thing on sales. There are some things that if you don't take this action, the result is that you will lose business. And by taking this action, you've saved all those sales. And again, these are the companies reporting this. This is not us. The companies are reporting back to the government. So I thought you might be interested. Yes.
Could you give me an example of the return on investment? So this would be a company reporting that they put $1 million into whatever you asked them to do and they got $19 million back?
Yes, exactly. It's based off the aggregate impact to the economy. You can see that $873 million number up there. What that means is that's the aggregate impact if you add it all up. The jobs, the sales, the investments, cost savings, and then that 19 ratio of 19:1. So the company spent 1/19 of that
All right.
in order to get those impacts, which is pretty good ROI. Now, I thought you might be interested in this one. I have this information for Kane County. You want to see it? And this is client reported impact on all companies that we've worked with in Kane County, how they reported on the surveys to the U.S. Department of Commerce. So last year, We had 537 new jobs. Average retained sales, 2.8 million. We worked with 130 companies. Average cost saving 153,000, but aggregate impact to Kane County 58 million. Yes.
Oh, can you share one of the companies that you assisted? And what did you do to help them here in Kane County?
Sure. As a matter of fact, I have a list here. It might be, I'm not skipping ahead. I just wanted to show you the companies here. These are the companies that right now that are in the King County Lighthouse program, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But you can see the listing there. One that I am working with directly, Labels and Specialty Products in St. Charles. Is anyone familiar with them?
No, but I should be.
Now, what they are doing with us is they are doing what's called a value stream map. And I don't want to get, that's something that we do where we go in and we look at all their processes and say, okay, what are you doing? Where is there waste in this process? How can we streamline it? And how can we create a future state so that you've taken all the waste out? All the waste is what we say the clients won't pay for. It's busy work that you do that doesn't earn you any money. So if you can eliminate that, then you can increase your profitability, you can increase your production, you can increase everything about how your business works. And so we're doing that because they felt like they have several processes that really needed some work because they felt like they were for example, they may have work going on over here and someone's carrying product over here. And then the next step in the process is back over here. So all that activity to carry stuff from here to there and back, that's waste. You know, when it should be worked set up so that you don't have all that extra motion. So that's what they're working on. That's just one of the things. Plus, they also have that situation I described before where they don't really have an HR person. But they're growing and they have to have more employees, but they don't really have a good system to attract new employees. They don't have job descriptions. And so when you're trying to attract a new employee, employees are attracted to a company that knows what they're doing, that knows what the job is, what's my career advancement potential, that kind of stuff has to be developed, and someone has to be able to organize it and run with it. And they didn't have any of that. So we've stepped in to create job descriptions for all their key positions that conform to all the proper wording that you need to have nowadays. And then we also put a plan together to help them bring more people into the company to meet the needs of the growth that they're having. So that's an example. I mean, they're literally, if you look at that, there's so many things that we do. Every company is different. Every company is different.
So I have a question. So when you go in and help Labels and Specialty Products, how much does it cost them?
Well, in this case, nothing, because they're a lighthouse manufacturer. If they weren't on the Lighthouse program and receiving that grant funding, something like what I just described would probably cost $15,000 to $20,000. Now, that is a very good price compared to if you were to go, to an outside consultant and get that. And the reason is because we're not for profit. We're partially funded by Department of Commerce. We're partially funded by the state. And we can take no profits. Any profits have to go back into support of the manufacturer. So because of that, and because of our, you know, the way we're organized, we're able to deliver anything that we do at a better rate than if someone was to go in off the street.
So back when I was young, a couple of years ago, the company I worked at, we had to go ISO compliant
Right.
or we were going to lose contracts. So we
Exactly.
literally lost millions of
And
dollars.
all the time.
We spent $500,000 with a consultant coming in, helping us do our process procedures. When you said value stream mapping, I started to twitch a little, you know, and then we had to get all of our people, you know, with their black belts and things. So the reason I asked that question, I asked it for a purpose because I wanted the group to understand how critical and the amazing work that IMEC is doing, that we're really lucky to have you guys in our community.
Well, thank you for that. ISO is, that's a perfect example. It's like, I mentioned the example of a cybersecurity where if you don't get that certification, you lose business. ISO is another one.
Yes.
A lot of companies won't do business with someone that's not ISO qualified. And so they need help getting there. And if they're not there, we can come in and bring them certified, and it won't cost $500,000. Because you were probably a pretty big company. That sounds like it was
We
yeah.
were.
Most companies that I deal with, you know, we can train them and do everything for probably $30,000. Yeah. So.
Mr. Pennis's.
Yes, thank you. Are you going to explain this Lighthouse program? I mean, it sounds like, you know, if they were going to go out, you know, like, you know, labels and specialty products, if they went out into the private sector, it was going to cost them more. So that return on investment is actually even greater.
It's
What is the
infinity,
You know,
actually.
explain, because if you're going to explain this, I'll just
Yeah,
go.
we jumped ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. The
It's Friday. We don't have,
all right. Well, let me wrap up this real quick and I'll get to the lighthouse.
we'll hold the questions till the end.
Okay.
Good
You
idea.
got a passionate group, though. We love our industry.
I love it. I love it. When you get this presentation, and I assume you all get a copy of it, I won't go through it now, but that little YouTube link there, click on that. That's a presentation about IMEC. It's much more professional than I'm going to be able to give you, but it does kind of go into a little more detail about who we are and how we operate. It's worth taking 5 or 10 minutes. And then at the end of it, I think it's 5 minutes to kind of tell about who we are. And then after that, it's talking about IMEC in case you wanted to come work for us. So when you get to that part about, you know, why would you want to come to IMEC, then you can just stop the video there.
Take our county employees.
Right. Oh, you turned it on.
Coaching.
Did I do that? I don't know if we have, I don't know if we have time to go through the, yeah,
How
Yeah.
long is it?
but it's worth watching. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, and one other thing, if you go into our website and the link is up there at the top, you can see a lot of other resources that are available other than us coming into a manufacturer and working directly with them. White papers, we have a ton of webinars, industry reports, success stories. Companies can come in and look at how other companies have utilized IMEC services and had success with it. There's a wealth of information there. A lot of companies don't do projects with us. They just get stuff off the internet. I mean, there's a lot of companies that do that because there's enough value in it that they can get that information and do things on their own. Okay, Lighthouse. I know you all have heard of the Lighthouse. I don't know if
No, they all haven't.
they haven't all. Okay. All right.
Got a couple of new board members, so,
Okay.
and it's a cool program, so take the time on this one.
All right, I will. The Lighthouse program is funded by the American Rescue Plan Act. And the American Rescue Plan Act was this omnibus bill that was passed, 3 or 4 years ago. that was designed to help people dig out from the effects of COVID. And there was many billions of dollars that was allocated to that. And that money was all sent out to the states. And then the states took that money and then they sent it out to the counties. And then the counties were free to do with that money whatever they feel would be most appropriate to mitigate the impact of COVID. Now, everyone had a different idea about how to spend that money, as you can imagine. Some counties felt that it would be beneficial to devote a certain amount of that money to support the manufacturing base, which is very forward-thinking and wise, by the way. Not every county did that. As a matter of fact, only 3 that I know of did. Cook County, McHenry County, and you. And everyone else that got the money, they did something with it, but it didn't support the manufacturing base directly. Now, how do you do that, though? So you all did it differently, and I think you were very wise in the approach that you took. Let me first explain what the approach was for Kane and McHenry, because they were very similar. They came to us because we're basically the people who work with manufacturing in the state, and they said, okay, tell us what are the major projects, the major challenges that you see with all the companies that you work with. And we said, okay, there's probably 20 or so, and this is what we do to help mitigate those challenges. 20 projects. And they said, okay, what we'll do is the company will apply for the program, pick the project they want, you do that, and then we'll pay them back. Fine. But what it ended up being was, it was basically just a menu. It's kind of like this menu. It's in here.
Exactly like that menu.
And it says, okay, pick one. Well, typically the projects were like $6,000, $8,000. And it was good and valuable, but it didn't holistically address the challenges that manufacturer may be facing. They may have more than one little thing that they want help on. They may need help on several things. And so what Kane did wisely was, and I think we got some of this experience because McHenry and Cook were first. And they were doing this program, and we're recognizing that, well, you know what, maybe it'd be better if we, maybe made the program worth more for the people who are doing it so that we can do more for them. And so the strategy was created that we will, if a company wants to apply, we'll go in and we'll bring a team of experts in and basically go and do a deep dive on what does that company actually need. It may get involved in, it may be marketing, it may be operations, it may be strategy. Maybe they need a new ERP system.
Thank you very much.
But it can be, like I said, every company is different. They all have different problems. And so what we do, we bring a team of experts in, we identify what are the major challenges, what can we do for $30,000, which is what the program is worth. That's the grant funding amount. And then let's implement that. And that is a much better way of addressing problems or addressing in a significant way how a company can improve itself. And so that's the way that was done. So here's kind of an example. This is no particular company in general, but it shows how we do it. After we go in and we have we call it a visioning session, where our experts come in and basically interview the company, and usually it's about half a day, 5-6 hours maybe, that we come in and we really do a deep dive. And after that, then we develop a plan and say, okay, this will be first year. The grant will pay for the first year. And then we'll do a second year and a third year, because in almost all cases, a company, once they open up their doors, the work that they need to do, it will take longer than a year to do. And so we give them basically a plan. And this is the year one. In this particular example, in year one, we're going to do the value stream mapping, which I talked about earlier. We're going to do a safety assessment because they have a number of safety issues they need to take care of in the plant. And we're going to do what we call a quick changeover. In that case, what that means is a company may have a bunch of different machines, and every time they make a new product on a machine, they have to change it. They have to change tooling, and sometimes that takes a lot of time, and a lot of money is wasted with downtime of machines because they don't know how to change them over quickly. And we can teach and help people learn how to do that better. And so that was our assessment on this particular one, that this is what you need to do right away. It's going to have to make the biggest impact on your business, and Kane County will be paying for this. Okay. Then we go through year by year and say, this is what we would anticipate for you in year 2 and year 3. And then after we present this plan, we talk about it some more and say, okay, is there anything that we have in year 2 that you think could be better in year 1, or vice versa? And we talk through that, and then we come to an agreement on what is the plan for the company, and then we go about implementing it. And that's how the program works. And it's a far, far better approach, in my humble opinion, than the way the other companies that have done it have done it. So my congratulations to you and all who helped in that decision.
I get comment and then we have question.
Yeah.
So the one thing I've known about IMAX since we started this. So one of the things, there's many things I love, but one of them that I really like is that a lot of times manufacturers are so busy manufacturing that they don't have time to look at what's really going on in the world. So they're kind of stuck here, whereas other people are innovating and, doing things here. And so the thing that IMAX does, even with your website, it gives people an opportunity, in the evening over a beer to look at what's best practices, what's really out there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a huge value to our county.
Yeah, excellent point. And sadly, the most common problem that I run into is that managers and owners are too busy working in the business to work on the business.
Because we have that end of month deadline.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know how many times I've seen owners, cancel a meeting because they had to go out on the shop floor and make product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ms. Strathman?
Thank you. This sounds fabulous. I'm loving learning all the details of it. But can you explain to me, the lighthouse, is that the umbrella, or where did that term lighthouse come from?
I'm not sure. Maybe someone within this room created that name. I don't know. It was a lighthouse, obviously, is, it's a beacon. So
Take the credit, somebody.
Yeah.
It was groupthink. It was groupthink.
I think Chris did it all himself,
Okay, thanks.
okay.
Ms.
Oh.
Bates.
Yeah.
Thinking way outside this box and
Mhm.
hopefully not being a Debbie Downer, how does your funding look in the future?
I was just talking to Mark about this earlier. We had in December, or was it November, we had a projection for grant funding that was going to be coming our way to roll out to the state. And we had probably 3 or 4 different programs that were projected that were several millions of dollars. Now, not ARPA, this is a totally different fund source.
Uh-huh.
These were other funds, some related to the Defense Department, some related to onshoring supply chain type stuff, some were related to workforce. In any case, that was what the plan was. And now moving forward, right now, we only have one of those programs that we know is funded. So there's a lot of waiting and seeing. you
Just
know.
thinking for our companies, if we're promising them a 3-year program, we need to be pretty sure about our funding. So
Well,
Can I jump in?
sure.
So speaking out of turn, well, no, I'm in charge, never mind. So our new Kane County Economic Development Commission, our 501(c)(9)(6),
6,
which you guys were so smart to fund and to put in ARPA money to get it launched. And I'm anticipating if this grows the way we think it's going to, and most of that money will come from private companies and investors and things like that. That's the group that's going to be able to come in and say, IMAC is so important. We have to continue to have them as part of our group. So I think that's really part of the whole thing, because it is critical if we want to, really, really make Kane County be our economic development machine for small businesses and large. We're going to have to, really do smart things like this.
It's a great idea, but especially considering the fact that these companies are already teed up. They already have a plan. Now we're being very specific to them and saying, okay, look, this is a 3-year plan. Only year one is covered by this program. So we're very clear on that. But if they want to go to year 2, then they would have to self-fund it unless we could find some other funds to help offset some of the costs, like maybe an incumbent worker training through the workforce network, something like that. But most of those companies are going to be in a position to say, okay, we've done this and we've seen the benefit of that. Now we want to do year 2. If you were to come in and say, okay, we'll fund year 2, you'd have 20 people probably sign up for that. Now, the alternative would be to go out and find new companies. And I understand the discussion, do you want to share the wealth or do you want to focus on a few? And that's always a funding problem discussion that you have, and so, I don't have one side or the other on it, but I am saying that there are a number of companies that are already teed up for a second year if you wanted to do something like that.
okay, thank
Genesis.
Yes.
Yeah. Was there a criteria in deciding who the companies were that were chosen in that Lighthouse program? And is that something that we should develop, since funding, we're going to have to be very strategic in the funding?
There was no criteria, I think, except company size. I believe it was limited to less than 500 employees.
Saw that. Yep.
And as far as I know, that was the only criteria. We marketed it once the program was released. We, using our internal database, marketed it to the manufacturing base, and the ones that did the application were the ones that you saw up there.
Doug,
Yeah.
we made some referrals based on companies that we had already been in touch with. So a couple of those companies, I know 2 of them anyway, made the cut. The German manufacturer,
Harding?
Helklabo.
Harding is a German company and it's on the list.
Well, there's another.
Kubel is what was on it too.
Okay.
Right,
Okay. Okay.
right. And the label company.
Labels and specialties?
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to help him buy another company.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
confidential.
a separate thing. Actually,
Which one? Should I buy stock real fast?
Public yet.
Point of order.
Well, let me address the funding issue, because the Kane County Economic Development Corporation, as you all know, has been nicely funded by the county with ARPA funds. And so we have a challenge to spend a large amount of money before the end of 2026. We asked IMEC for a proposal to plug into we're looking at this as a 2-year budget because that's, you know, not quite 2 years in terms of the ARPA money is available. And so that we haven't had that discussion in any formal sense, but we'll be talking about that. And I anticipate that I think we want to. It depends on, you know, how we allocate the other. We have some other, as I was telling you earlier, some upfront expenses getting this organization started, but we're going to do everything we can to start putting money directly into programs like Lighthouse, because, you know, it's the bread and butter of Kane County manufacturing, these small companies. I think we had a 200 job limit, 200 employee limit. If I'm
Was
not
it 200?
mistaken. I
Okay,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
could
we
be.
really were focused on those
Small
smaller,
companies.
small and mid cap type manufacturers.
Let me ask you a question. What is your fiscal year? Is it June to
December.
July?
The county,
Oh, it's,
yeah, a
First.
calendar year.
or
December
No,
you're on a
no,
calendar
it's-
year. Okay,
First.
okay.
It's December 1st through November 30th is our calendar. our
Okay.
fiscal.
The reason why I ask, and I don't know if any of the ARPA funding is tied to your fiscal year. And I'm just throwing this out there. Some of the companies have, how should I say, haven't gotten started as quickly as others. Some of them, right, by things that they couldn't control, like, you know, the operations manager of the company had knee surgery, you know, and so things like that. But for whatever reason, the start of the project, this implementation phase has been delayed. And the last that we had heard is the money needed to be spent by September or October.
No, it's by December 31st, 2026.
Oh,
The last
and where-
has to be pounded.
oh,
And
okay.
also, the committee is now looking at that with all the assignments, and they're starting to take money away from those groups that aren't going to be able to meet that deadline.
Okay, well,
Now, and they also said, the committee, we're going to back up. So around June of 26, we're going to take a close look because we can't wait till November and say, whoops.
right.
We are
Well,
doing some reallocating.
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's good news though, because what I had heard, what had been communicated within IMEC is that money had to be spent by September of 2025.
Allocated,
And that,
committed, allocated and committed.
okay, Well, that has already been done. Of course, anyone on that list has
That's
already
now has to be
committed.
pounded by,
Okay, well, that's good
December
because I had a meeting with one of my King County people just this morning, and they were one of these that had a delay. And until September, we only have 6 months and a lot of work to do. So we were going to have to be very aggressive. But if that's not
be
the case,
aggressive.
yeah, go ahead. So don't tell her anything different. All right, we're going to work towards September.
Return as fast as possible.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
they don't want to incur other delays. They could.
No, you're right. Yeah, the motivation would be there, but it's,
Biggest
Doug-
fear was leaving $103 million on the table.
We're not going to
oh,
do that.
And that's.
Doug, we're gonna need to know though, what your cadence is in terms of spending on some of these slow companies.
okay. Okay. Typically, we don't, I think on these, most of the time, there may be some upfront invoicing, but most of the invoicing occurs after the projects are completed. So
have
we
that
won't
number.
really have, something to show you on that right away. So anyway, anything else on the ARPA?
I'm sorry,
okay.
on the King County Lighthouse, the third year is the implementation year? You're not implementing?
No.
The first 2 years are planning and strategy or,
No, the first year, let me go back here.
yeah, please, just,
Okay, year one, this is the ARPA funded year. That's this year.
okay,
So in this case, we would have gone into the company and said, okay, these are what we recommend that you do year one and utilize your ARPA funds for these.
Okay,
The year two is our forward plan for them.
Other way.
So
other way.
yeah, we're saying, okay, this is what we would recommend you do in year two, and this is what we recommend you do in year three. The understanding, of course, that they will have to find funding for that. Either they'll have to self-fund it, or we'll have to find funding from other resources like incumbent worker training funds or something like that. Yeah.
And also, it's not like the whole first year they're not going to do anything, because especially small manufacturers, as they learn this stuff, they're going to run out on the shop floor and do it. So it's not like they're just sitting, so they're working through some of
I'm
these
looking for
things.
the word implementation. I don't.
It's
see
going to
it.
be implemented all along as they do it. So if they get trained on value stream
All
mapping,
right.
they may
Yes.
do their manufacturing floor with them, but then they may go, oh, I want to do a value stream mapping for my engineering group, and they may do that.
Okay.
Once you have a tool, you want to use it right away. It's like when you get your new kayak, you're not going to let it sit for a year. You're going to go out even though you're still learning how to use it.
Yeah, absolutely right. What I'm showing you is what we would, very early on in the program, we do this and we put the plan together. And then once they sign off on the plan, then we implement and immediately we start scheduling. We start scheduling in-house stuff to support the plan.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Since this, did you call me? Well,
Yes,
I'll talk
yes.
anyway.
Ms.
Um,
Bates,
so I don't see this on it's not in our packet.
no, we're going to have to get
So
it
can we
emailed to
get
us.
this at least, or maybe added to our agenda for today, so it's easier to find, as
Yeah.
an additional,
Yeah, he'll get it to Chris, and Chris will
okay.
Yeah, I have,
do some magic.
I have a flash drive with it, but you have it as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
my apologies, especially to the speaker. I have to leave, but I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I have, all I have left, and it can be optional if your time is short. I was going to talk a little bit about our apprenticeship program.
Yeah,
If
please,
If
please.
you'd like, I can,
Yeah.
okay, all right. It won't take too long. I just want to make you aware of it. These are Department of Labor approved apprenticeship programs that we are able to execute on. Now, when I say execute, what that means is we have training plans developed and identified resources for that training and all of the things in place to manage the program for all of these disciplines. So those are ready to go. Now, why is that important? I mean, I think everyone understands the value of apprenticeships, but what we learned is that they weren't being utilized as much as they should because of the difficulty of managing the program. Now, there's several ways that manifests itself. One, if you want to be sponsored by the DOL, there's DOL documentation.
What's that? Department of Labor?
Department of Labor,
Thank you
sorry.
very I wasn't born yesterday, Okay.
But there's a lot of documentation involved with it. Most companies don't have the internal administrative resources to do it. There are issues as to how do you train them, because the DOL will give an apprenticeship if they do certain training, which is required by DOL. Okay, lots of companies don't know how to access that training. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to start. And it consequently, especially for smaller companies, they just don't have the internal capability to manage an apprenticeship program effectively. So that's where we come in, because we've been doing apprenticeships now for as long as I've been with the company, but we kept running into some of these kinds of difficulties, dealing with the DOL, identifying the training plans, finding people to do that training if we can't do it ourselves. And then keeping them on track, managing the program. Are you doing the training? If you haven't, why not? And how do we get it back on track so that you can complete this program in the 2 or 3 year period and get your journeyman certification from the Department of Labor? And we have learned that most of the time when we leave that management up to the manufacturer, it falls apart. So we have over time have been gradually developing the internal capability, and we now have it so that we can deliver these off the shelf and say, all right, you want someone to be an industrial maintenance mechanic. Okay, we have a program that we have all the training identified. We can provide the training. We will do the apprenticeship orientation. We'll mentor the apprentice. We'll do the monthly check-ins that are required, and then all the management status reporting to DOL and prep for the annual compliance review meeting with the DOL. It's a lot of busy work in there, but we're equipped to be able to do that. And that way it takes everything off the plate of the manufacturers, and then they just get the benefits of it, which is having an apprentice in their program that is learning how to do something key to the business.
So we put in, I hear you. I
You're
see you.
gonna say it before I
Yeah.
am.
Yes,
Go ahead.
we put in a responsible bidders ordinance. And we got a lot of flack because they were like, well, that's only going to work for the large unions who have money to do this. And we're like, no, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get apprentice programs into our small manufacturers too.
Yeah.
So that they can be capable of bidding on these projects and things. And so a program like what you guys do to help those small businesses do apprenticeships, it's really good for a couple of things. Number one, our neighbors can go and get an apprenticeship. And then those companies can also be eligible to bid on these things. So how much does this cost us?
Well, the service itself is not inordinately expensive. I'm trying to remember now. I want to say it's less than $10,000.
For what?
That's for the
for-
management of the program.
So that's
from,
not
from,
per
begin- from
student.
beginning to end. That doesn't not include any of the training. Because there's a lot of training, because usually these are 3-year programs.
Uh-huh.
There's several hundred hours of training
Okay,
in order for the apprentice to get his certification.
okay.
So what we have is we have the training plans, and what the manufacturer would typically have available is, okay, you want to do an apprentice, here's the training plan, here's the proposal to do that training, and then we go to the workforce board and try to get incumbent worker training to cover a lot of that, a grant fund that would cover that. That would be the preferred way to do it. Now, of course, you need to have we do this in other counties, and there's different, the network, the workforce network operates differently in different counties. And I don't know if we do not have the support of Kane County network yet for this program. So
Could we, can we invite you back just to talk about the apprenticeships? Because
This is very
it's important to
interesting.
us.
Yeah.
So
sure.
let's have another discussion on
So-
that.
Part of our RBO, responsible bidder ordinance, for anybody who might not know it, and I can always understand it better, is that you must have a apprenticeship program. And so this really raises
Yeah.
Bright flags for us.
We'll bring you back.
Okay.
We need this in Kane County to help our our RFP process includes for the safety and okay, one more question.
Yes.
What about community colleges? Are you partnering? So do you do the hands-on training, or do you more like manage or do
We-
planning and then somebody else? does
Most of the training we can provide in from internal
Are
resources
you
at
partnering
IMEC.
with Vonsi or
We,
ECC, or you don't?
we
That's not
don't,
part
it-
of the model.
we don't, we're not in opposition with them. If we show the training plan and then the manufacturer can deploy that training any way he wants. If he wants to go to Wabansie or if he wants to go to Elgin Community College to
Uh-huh.
get that, he can, or we can provide it. The only problem is that with working with the junior colleges, and they have, this is one of the typical things. Most of the junior colleges don't do the program management. They
So
just
you might
do-
be the program managers and they might be the hands-on
Could be.
classroom.
And it could be a mix. It could be,
Okay.
some of the training may be done at the junior college, some of it maybe we do. And it's, and that's all.
Do you have employers who partner with you to do in-shop training?
Well,
Or
there's
am I-
there's
is
an
that a-
element of on-the-job
That
training.
does, if that question didn't make any sense. you
No,
can
it does
tell
make
me.
sense. There are two types of training in an apprenticeship. There's what's called on-the-job training, and
Yeah,
then there's
Classroom.
training requirements by the DOL.
okay.
Typically, the training requirements are things that most companies are not equipped to do on the job. Maybe like safety training or things of those nature. But then there's some things that, the local the employees of the company can do, like, here's how you set up this CNC machine to build this part. And then they do that on the job. And those are both requirements of the apprenticeship program, but they're labeled differently. One's called on the job training, one called mandatory skills training, and they're separate typically.
So let's bring this back because
Okay, yep.
we also partner with Valley Industrial, who does a lot more of the hands-on
Okay.
with our real manufacturers. So,
Thanks.
but it's super important. So Chris, got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
We're all
I'll do
excited.
is
Yeah.
I'll bring if it's okay with you, if you invite me back to talk about this, I'll bring with you our person who manages the program. They'll be able to answer questions in depth if you have them.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Chris will make sure it happens.
Please, please and thank you. Mhm.
Okay. Well, I guess that's basically it.
Oh, thank you. It was super, super good. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
But
Appreciate
it's
the time.
Friday and we've got to get out of here before.
I don't blame you. All right.
No, so we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris, if you have the presentation already, you can distribute that.
Yep, I'll make sure to send them a copy this afternoon.
Okay, cool. All right. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks.
You
Real
too.
interesting.
All right, King County Economic Development Initiative Staff Update.
It's a long name, but a short update today. So included in your packet was the press release sent out by World Business Chicago through the GSEP partnership. I just wanted everyone to have a copy of that to make them aware because we were doing I forget the social media term, but we all posted something at the same time on the same day so that it went out. And
Yeah.
it's just highlighting that Chicago has once again been named the #1 metro in the US for corporate relocation investment by Site Selection Magazine, marking its 12th consecutive year at the top. This ranking, based on project count, highlights the region's global economic strength, business-friendly environment, and deep talent pool. Just skipping ahead a little bit, World Business Chicago reported a total of 140 pro-Chicagoland decisions in 2024, comprising 110 expansions and 30 relocations or new market entries, resulting in the creation of over 14,800 jobs. So just something to highlight the work that GSEP is doing that we continue to be in partnership with. So we shared that out. It had a really good reception. And as we learn more about what's going on with GSEP, I'll make sure to share that with the committee. And in tandem with that, I did send it out yesterday and I made sure that everyone had a updated version of John's major business development projects report. I don't know if anyone had any questions for John about that, but if this is the time, and other than that, there's not much else for the updates today.
I had something that actually board member Allen brought up. You were talking about Route 25. That's actually Bartlett. It's King County, but it's in Bartlett. There's a bunch of new companies. They're
Right.
pretty big companies.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would. big, developments, obviously. I don't know if they fit into your criteria here.
Yeah, it would, and we're researching that right now. One of the companies is a transportation distribution company. But we just need to, it didn't show up on any of the reports that we scrubbed.
And we got like a tiny little portion of the village of Bartlett in King County.
Very small.
Yes.
We actually, those buildings are in unincorporated Kane County.
Oh,
All the better.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they probably have a Bartlett address,
Right.
but it doesn't make them part of the city of Bartlett.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Not that we would care about that. We love Bartlett.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, and this is too much for today, but is there any way, because this is so cool, is there any way that you could figure out how many new jobs were created in these environments?
Yes.
And I don't know how we put a dollar impact on that, but
We could do it a couple of different ways, Madam Chairman. We could do by the jobs,
Mhm.
and some of that we'll have to estimate because
Yeah.
we won't know.
Yeah.
And certainly in the first 6 months of a new facility, they're not going to be generally anywhere near where the employment might be a couple of years down the
Mhm.
road. The second thing we can do using the job number is calculate some wage impacts.
Mhm.
Based
Tax
on square
impacts.
footage, we could look at other types of taxes, property taxes, et
Mhm.
cetera. It's going to take a little bit of work.
yeah, I know, I didn't say you needed it today, but I think that would, like, it's cool to see all the new developments and to see where they're happening, but from an economic development, it's really nice to put either jobs created or some kind of dollar figure with that of what is the impact of this? Why is this critical?
Estimated jobs created, for the future you could put in there.
Well, in fact, once we staff the Economic Development
I know.
Corporation, this will be a regular report. My guess is probably on a quarterly basis
Mhm.
with generalized impact numbers. It's the values of the buildings, though, we can calculate fairly closely. So yeah, you'll have some numbers.
Yeah, cool.
It was it was fun to put together because, and until you sit down and look at what's going on in Kane County, you see a lot of buildings, you see people driving cars to work, et cetera, et cetera. But you're actually able to capture some of, okay, what's going on in these big and small buildings.
And
The
what I
other
like
thing-
is the variety of different businesses that are coming here, different reasons, but it's very interesting. We're not in, everybody comes to Kane County because of this.
No,
We've got a lot of cool stuff going on.
very, very diverse economic, and plus, this report does not cover retail.
No.
Which is really critical for the local municipalities from a tax base.
Mhm.
Great.
So I have a question. As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about the warehouses that are coming into King County. And I worried that they really don't produce many jobs. Is that true? Could we have some kind of a report, maybe some next month or something about warehouses or if you know already, that would
How
be
about-
fine.
How about when he puts the job creation numbers on this, you'll see.
Okay, because I know there's a saying, I'm not sure I got it quite right, but to the highest use, we're going to put so if the warehouses are really not creating many jobs, then maybe they're not the highest use for King County.
There's a large demand for transportation, distribution, logistics facilities. They're not all warehouses. A lot of them are fulfillment centers where packages are only in the building for maybe 2 or 3 hours. There's a
Mhm.
lot of technology in these buildings. And quite frankly, over the last 5 years, we've seen wages, to some degree, thanks to Amazon, really improving, with benefits. And it's being driven by the economy we live in. I wish we manufactured more in this country. We are buying stuff that's made from all over the world.
Mhm.
And the part of that is how do you get these products to market? How do you get parts to the manufacturer? Some of these warehouses actually are part of a manufacturing supply chain that this manufacturing would not happen if this particular facility couldn't get the gears there by Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And maybe that person packing the gearbox doesn't make a lot of money, but it's really important for the whole manufacturing life cycle. So I mean, generalizing about warehouses to me is dangerous. Some don't pay very well and some have crummy working conditions.
I'm worried about no people in there at all.
Oh, no, there's people. But yeah, when you break it down, we can look
Yeah.
at that.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about that.
Mr. Ross.
We should also break down what type, because that came up in transportation. Those warehouses that are in and out, like some of the Amazon warehouses, their inventory turn is 48 hours. Well, think about all those trucks going in and out and beating on the concrete. They're not paying more to repair those than the warehouse that has, a 1-year turnover. And I think that's critical. We did. And there's a hearsay going around too. There are some warehouses that are being built for tax reasons, so they're sitting empty. And I have one example of that. It's in Carroll Stream, that a lot of these are being built, and so not all of them are being used.
So I just want us to be very careful about that.
No doubt.
From an environmental standpoint, they're not a huge, I don't love them, but if they're good, they're good. If
They're
not,
in the mix. They're part of the mix.
uh-huh.
The
let's
good news,
understand that.
the good news about this report is there's a lot of manufacturing in here.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you wouldn't see this kind of a report in Will County. Will County is going to be 80 to 85% transportation, distribution, logistics. They've almost lost most of their manufacturing base.
Wow.
Well, then we're doing something good.
I think so.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I think.
Okay, I
will-
do.
Ooh.
Before we have to, and we're going to try to wrap it up, but do you feel comfortable giving a 3-minute, very large thing on where the economic development group is?
Sure.
Okay.
So we've had four board meetings.
Mhm.
We have our 5th next week. We had our first in December. And we had to really move forward with the incorporation of the Economic Development Organization so we could execute an agreement for funding with the county by the end of the year. We met that deadline.
Mhm.
Then we had to go back and do some housekeeping work. We've created a set of bylaws. We're going to be approving a conflict of interest policy, so the board members are protected from getting information that might be conflicting to relative to the business that they're in. The other thing we're looking at right now, 2 things. One is hiring a marketing firm to do branding, logo, imaging, and help build a website. And then the second big consideration or thing that we're talking about, and it'll be a big part of our topic next week because it's on the budget, is hiring a firm to do private sector fundraising for the corporation. I've used these consultants in the past. They come in, they do a feasibility study first. They'll go out and talk to 50, 60 companies across the county, ask them what do they know about the economic development group? If an economic development group did these 3 things, would you consider financially supporting it? So it's a phase where we're collecting information on the potential level of support that we might get. The feasibility study will actually say, we think that over the next 5 years, we can raise $6.5 million to fund the Economic Development Corporation. That's a really important step for this group to take, and I'm really happy that we're going in that direction. But in the meantime, we're working on regional economic development. We're responding to business inquiries, helping them find incentives, looking for buildings, getting information on truck traffic, because that becomes part of the discussion very early. A big requirement we're seeing now is high power users, high energy.
Mhm.
And to some degree, unfortunately, along with that, high water users.
About data centers?
Some of it's data centers. A lot of these big manufacturers have a lot of technology in them, and they do draw a lot of power. But data centers is a big interest, and artificial intelligence campuses is what I call them, because we're talking about, in some cases, 2 or 3 or 4 buildings. There are 500, 600, 800,000 square feet, and they're just full of computers.
Are they in King County already? And where are they?
There's 1 or 2 in Aurora,
Aurora's got two. big ones.
and there's a couple that are sniffing around.
Okay.
That's
Big
Cyrus.
trucks, by the way.
Cyrus.
In development, they talked about that right now, data center usage across the country is using 9% of overall electric. And it's estimated within 10 years to go over 30%.
Won't say that. I see her. Move on because it's almost noon.
And the lights go off at noon.
You are not called on again.
You know, I think it's safe to say we will see some additional data center development. The good news is the jobs are really good, not a lot of them, but they're all 6-figure, in some cases way over 6-figure. And then the other thing is that the property taxes they generate are unbelievable. And the schools love them. So there is an upside to a data center versus a distribution center.
Right. And less traffic.
Yes, much less.
Definitely.
Just a hum. It's a hum.
Okay. Do you guys have anything else?
No, that's it.
Yes, you do.
What is
And
it?
I forgot to say it when IMAC was here. We're right in the middle of Maker's Madness.
Oh,
So I don't know if you guys know Maker's Madness, but it's the coolest thing. And if you guys haven't, do you guys want to talk about it a second? Okay. IMAC puts out, it is IMAC. It's the
IMA.
Makers.
It's a Manufacturers Association.
Yeah.
IMA.
Okay. They do March Madness and they listed, oh, yeah, there it is. They listed all these products that are made here and you go in and you vote on which products. You get 5 votes per day if you want. You vote on which products that you think are the coolest. And then they, take it down by brackets. And in the end of March, just like, basketball, we have a winner. And even if you don't participate, it's so cool to go on this website and look at the products that are being made right here next door to us, or in your backyard, maybe. And yeah, I just think it's the coolest thing. So I do go in every day and vote.
What every day?
I do.
Yep, I do.
When
So
are
I
we
don't know
gonna,
what the website is. Oh, it's right there. Yeah. It's
What
pretty
are
cool.
you supporting?
Hmm?
Which ones are you voting for?
Well, my favorite is number 20, the active wall, which is made in Aurora, but it's just a really super cool product. Yeah, there's cheese, it's right there. Yeah, down there, Batavia flag is one of ours. There's quite a few that are right here in our sweet spot here, so, yeah, it's cool. All right.
awesome. When are we gonna
Mark
go
was
on
here,
a
he would have
tour?
done that, so I did it for Mark. And then next month we'll, I'm sure, highlight the winner. So moving along, thank you guys. I could be here all day talking this stuff, so.
Yes, and we
um,
are actually.
I know, and I'm monopolized your first meeting and now this one.
No.
So the next thing on the agenda is the Office of Community Reinvestment Workforce Development Division. We're not going to have a presentation on that today. Everybody on the board knows that we are in the middle of some changes going on over there. And that's just exactly what I want to say about it. There will be a report next month.
Okay, thank you.
Any new business?
So I had a question about that.
Yes, Gary.
So isn't, I don't know how else to put it, but isn't the office that Scott Berger used to hold, isn't that part of that?
Yes.
Okay. So did he report to us? Because he used to come to the meetings.
Yeah, it's a little complicated, but.
Okay, but
so
here's my question is, how come I didn't know how bad things were until Tuesday?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that. It's kind of the gorilla in the room. So it's called the WIOA board, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And it's a whole governing board that's actually controlled in Springfield, basically. So all government funded stuff. That's why we don't really talk about the budget over there, because every bit of it's government grants. So Scott, in that capacity, reports all of that stuff to this WIOA board, which is a group of up to 40 people from Kane County, Kendall County, and DeKalb County. And they have subcommittees, and their board's just kind of like ours. So they were the ones that were getting all these reports saying that we were on a watch list and, you know, whatever. And the reports that we would get that we reviewed in jobs, because it had to, that WIOA board stuff had to kind of come to some committee. So it came here. But the reports we were getting were saying, we have a $2 million grant. We've spent $1 million of it. Life is good. But what we didn't know was underneath the, you know, the down in the weeds, things weren't good. So you can have a report, and you know this, you can have a report that, you know, a board of directors gets that says life is good. Then when you get in the weeds, you find out it's not. So it is a big problem. It's a big problem for us as a county. That's why some of the things that'll be coming out in all the committees in the future about how we're going to audit things, how are we going to know as a county board some things. So that's why I don't want to get in the weeds. If you want to call me, I can spend about 4 hours on it with you.
I appreciate it. I don't want you to get into the weeds, and I appreciate the sensitivity of the issue. I'm just so. I mean, my question is: you're telling me nobody knew anything until Tuesday, or till Friday?
I didn't say nobody knew.
Okay.
I'm saying that the jobs committee was never privy to that information.
Okay, that's what I was.
Okay.
Pointing to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Including you.
No, you're welcome.
Including you. Right.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Want to keep you in the
No,
not
absolutely.
knowing list.
Absolutely. And I have had conversations ad nauseum with Deborah saying, is there something I missed? Is there something I missed? Was there some line on some report somewhere? No. So,
And there should be. So there's a process improvement needed.
and that's why we talked about that. We started having that conversation Tuesday at Human Services about how we're going, or maybe at exec, I can't remember, but how we're going to start auditing our executive directors, because there is no checks and balances. And so we're going to have to start, but we can't audit them till we know what they do. So we're going to have to put in some matrix and measurements before we can start auditing them. So we got a lot of work to do. And normally we say at a county board level or any, you know, elected official level that we don't want to get in the weeds and we don't want to micromanage people, but we're going to have to do that a little bit while we get things established.
I believe there was a snake in the grass.
Yes.
Then you have to get into the
Yeah.
weeds and find out.
There you go. All right. But thanks for asking the question and being sensitive about it too. So,
thank you.
no new business?
Nope.
Okay.
I'd like to motion that I'd like to ask for unanimous consent that we place the reports on file.
Absolutely.
Good.
All right. I have one comment. What's the name of it? The Illinois Economic Development Summit, which Mavis and I and Cheryl Stratton went to last summer, is going to be June 11th and 12th in Peoria. I will send this out to this committee. It is so worth spending 2 days in Peoria. Yeah, and I'll send it out to you guys. And if you do want to go,
11th and 12th.
let Chris know. And he will get us
I'm
done.
in. That was fun.
I'm in.
Yeah, and you're hanging around with, basically, it's kind of run by the DCEO,
Thank you.
Department of Commerce and Economic
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Thank you.
So
Got too many letters today.
it's called GSEP, right? That was GSEP.
No. This is the
Uh-oh.
Illinois Economic Development Summit.
Okay.
But there's a lot of state things and a lot of things about what's going on with the state. Somebody from the governor's office always starts it out and kind of tells us what his plans for economic growth are. And yeah, it's It's just really good. So I will send it out to you guys. Encourage you to go if you're on this committee.
Rockford or Peoria? Did you say?
Peoria. It's in
Okay.
Peoria
I
this
wanna
year.
go to Rockford, but
No,
it's-
it's gonna be
yeah.
in Peoria. No, but if you do want to go, let Chris know. And then, we do have a new form to fill out, but I think we can kind of do it as a group and say, we're sending these 6 people and this is why and whatever.
Mhm.
Okay? No executive session, sorry. And now we need a motion to adjourn.
Eighth moves.
I second.
All right. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Any objections?
I didn't hear you. Beth.